Unfortunately, there's normally a lot of news that happens during the week, and I don't want to skip over all of it, so I'd rather just quickly mention it in the Green Squadron Games report. So, let's just go ahead and get straight into it. As soon as I can find where my notes are. There we go. Okay. So, starting off the week, we had Remedy, the developer behind Alan Wake, announce via an open letter to their fan community, or to a fan community website, The Sudden Stop, about a new Alan Wake remaster bundle. It's going to contain the original game that's remastered, as well as its 2 DLC, which is pretty cool, particularly if you're a fan of Alan Wake. But the thing that I find is so awesome about this is that instead of like giving the story to IGN or giving the story to one of the main video game outlets, they decided to give that story directly to a fan community that clearly seems very dedicated towards the Alan Wake franchise. So I think that's really cool that they did that and announced it that way. Very, very much a lot of fan service for them to go ahead and do that. So very cool in my opinion. Next up, as we go from one fan favorite to another, except in a bad way, popular GTA 5 mod GTA Underground was taken down by the team that made it, unfortunately due to increased hostility from Take-Two. They already had it taken down from ModDB recently, and they decided just to full-on remove it from any and all platforms where you can get it from because of the amount of hostility from Take-Two. However, just because they took it down doesn't mean that it's all bad. There is a bit of a silver linings. They did hint at the possibility of them actually sticking together as a creative group, because it is a group of developers who are working on it. And they did hint at the possibility that they would stick together and actually work on their own original game, which is actually really cool. So you could actually see a brand new indie studio form out of this and actually working on a brand new indie game, which is actually really cool in my opinion. As I said previously on other podcasts, that I think some of the coolest stuff that I've seen so far this year has really come from the indie scene. The AAA studios have kind of brought it back in the second half of 2021, but I think really this year is highlighting some of the excellent games from the indie scene, and I'm very excited to see what that's going to bring. And if that means from this loss of a very popular mod, if that means that that team is going to create a new game and you're going to get a new indie studio, I think that's pretty awesome. Next on the list, Dead by Daylight adding new DLC. It's not adding; it's already been there for a little while, but it's now out of test and actually available for everyone to buy. It is the Hellraiser DLC, which adds the Cenobite character, and I know it adds a few skins of the other Cenobites, but it's still basically all the same character. And along with that DLC drop, they've also added a skill-based matchmaking system, which is pretty cool. I didn't realize that there was a lot of skill behind playing Dead by Daylight, but I can see that. I can very well see that. There's only one issue. The new DLC, when they released it, they removed all the voice lines from the Cenobite. Everyone's kind of perplexed as to why. I don't think they've given a actual reason behind it. But what's weird about it is not that the Cenobite doesn't have any voice lines, but it's just that the character had voice lines in the test that they had. So if you bought the game, or not bought the game, but if you're playing on the test servers and you had bought the DLC, you had early access to it, and all the voice lines were there. Once it hit full release and made it out of the test server, however, all the voice lines were gone. And to be honest, it could just very well be a mistake, right? It could just be a screw up on the developer's part when they took it out of the beta, or there could have been some sort of legal problem behind it. I don't know. I don't think I've seen anything that really gives a reason why. So some people are a little upset about it, which I can understand. But moving on from there, PlayStation has acquired Firesprite, the studio behind the Playroom VR. They've worked with Sony and PlayStation pretty closely, so this is to be expected somewhat, but I'm always a little saddened or concerned even whenever indie studios or smaller studios get bought up and acquired by bigger publishers or other developers, because I'm always concerned that it potentially means the death of that studio. Now, to be fair, PlayStation, from my understanding, they haven't really shut down a lot of studios in the past, so this may not be that much of a bad deal for Fire Sprite, so we'll see how things go moving forward. But I'm always just a little wary whenever publishers end up buying up and acquiring studios. So yeah, something to take into consideration. Yeah, okay, we're starting to get into the PlayStation Showcase news. So this is some of the stuff that is not necessarily going to be featured in the trailers, but again, still worth mentioning. So Crystal Dynamics has confirmed that Spider-Man is coming to Marvel's Avengers. Actually, no, sorry, not quite in the PlayStation Showcase. I'm skipping ahead, sorry. But anyway, Crystal Dynamics has confirmed that Spider-Man is coming to Marvel's Avengers as a new DLC. They actually, like, I don't think they were intentionally meaning to announce it, but like he was in some of the promotion for their first raid that's coming out, which is going to be featuring the return of the Claw from the previous Wakanda expansion that they released, and the first raid is going to feature the Claw as one of the main bad guys. But in some of the promotional imagery, they actually have images of Spider-Man in there. So really, there hasn't been any real details as to how the character is going to play or when they're going to release it or any of that other stuff. In fact, the only thing that we seem to know is just that he will be a PlayStation exclusive character for Marvel's Avengers. So if you got a PlayStation and you've got Marvel's Avengers, you will eventually be getting Spider-Man, which is cool. Sucks for the rest of us though, but anyway, it is what it is. Speaking of more PlayStation news, MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries and its DLCs are coming to PlayStation 5. Apparently, this is the first time in 20 years that PlayStation will be having a MechWarrior game on it. So, kind of monumental, if you will. And it is going to be released on September 23rd. So, if you're a PlayStation fan who's been wanting to get into MechWarrior but don't have a PC or an Xbox, it's going to be coming to you very shortly in just, gosh, I think 2 weeks. So it's pretty cool. In more PlayStation news, the final trailer for Death Stranding, the director's cut, has been released. Most of it seems to be focused on just story moments from the game. So if you've already played it, you're not really going to see a lot new. There was a few instances or a few clips of the new gameplay, but most of it seemed to focus on just the wealth of the story that is in the original game. So not really a lot to glean from this trailer other than, get hyped up for the game if you really liked it. Personally, I think it's a little overrated. I don't think it's bad. I just think it's overrated. But yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, it's coming out September 24th on PS5. I think it's exclusively. So yeah. On to the next story. Bethesda released a trailer for their latest update for Fallout 76 called Fallout Worlds. From the trailer, it seems to be essentially just a whole bunch of cheat codes which they're adding to the game, which will allow players to add things such as like infinite ammo, no fall damage, infinite camp budget, etc. To the game. It just seems to turn the game into just a digital playground for people to just kind of go in and mess around and do crazy stuff, which is kind of interesting. Not necessarily a Fallout trait, but kind of cool. Could be fun. The only thing that for me is a little interesting is that I'm not sure if they're gonna like quarantine this stuff off to a specific server such that you can get all this crazy like cheat code style gameplay in these specific servers while still having more traditional Fallout 76 servers on their own, or if they're just gonna throw them all together. Maybe they'll even have private worlds, because it seemed to be like in the trailer that I saw, they seemed to be focusing on like you could set up your own world the way you want. So it sounded like almost like you could set up your own world or little mini server, which could be fun. You could do some funny things in there. So yeah, I don't know what else to say to that. Halo Infinite. So from their multiplayer test that they put out a couple weeks ago, they are changing their combat sensor due to player feedback. A lot of players didn't really like the way that the combat sensor was working, and they were calling for a change to make it more in line with the radar from previous Halo games, where essentially everything that moves, except for like crouch walking, is going to show up. Otherwise, you know, I'm trying to think of the right way to say that. Basically, you won't show up if you're crouch walking, but otherwise you will show up on the radar, right? So if you're moving at all, or if you're shooting, you're doing anything, that's fine. Whereas the new combat radar, essentially you had to be sprinting in order for you to show up on the radar or shooting. So it's a seemingly small change, the way I describe it, but I can see how it could be a pretty big difference in terms of how the game is played and what players are expecting. So, and part of the reason why I actually bring it up is because I think it's actually great that 343 Studios was willing to listen to the player base and actually agree with them and make the change necessary. And you'll be able to try it out in their next beta test, which I think is coming up sometime like late September, early October. So you'll be able to check that out and see if it's a change worth keeping or not. More Xbox news. Xbox is releasing a new firmware update for Xbox One controllers, specifically Bluetooth controllers. It's going to bring Bluetooth low energy and dynamic latency to these controllers, features that are already available on the Xbox Series X controllers, but aren't available on the Xbox One controllers. So this is essentially an upgrade to make it more in line, or make them more in line, sorry, with the Xbox Series X controllers, which I think is actually pretty cool that they're going to do that. It looks like it's currently only available to the Xbox Insiders program. So if you're in that program, you can get the firmware update already, and they're going to slowly roll it out. No real word on when it'll become available for everyone else. Another indie game, car combat game, Keo, K-E-O. I'm not sure if it's meant to be a word or not because it's all in caps. But it's coming to early access on Steam on September 23rd, and it'll get full release sometime in 2022. It'll have 2 game modes, a deathmatch and a domination. Deathmatch, you know, straightforward deathmatch. Go ahead and try and get as many kills as you can. Domination, just capture the flags at different points and try and hold as many flags at any given time. The thing that's kind of cool about it is that it's very much has Twisted Metal feel to it, which is a game series that was actually a lot of fun back in the day to play, and there were multiple different clones of it, but it ended up dying out in like the mid to late 2000s, so it's nice to see a new game that's essentially trying to bring back that whole genre of game type back into it. So, and it looks pretty good too. It looks really polished, and looks really, really interesting. So that could be one worth checking out. GTA 5, more GTA 5 news. The PS5 release has been pushed back to spring of 2022. At this point, I'm not really sure what new features are going to be coming with the PS5 version, other than, you know, maybe some expanded resolution. So, I mean, really, if you haven't experienced GTA 5 by now, I mean, yeah, you probably won't. I mean, I'm sure most people who will buy this will be people who just want to upgrade and get a slightly better resolution, particularly for the consoles. So, yeah, it is what it is. More Sony news. Sony announced that an Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection will be coming to PlayStation 5. It is a bundled remaster of Uncharted 4 and Uncharted Lost Legacy. It'll be coming out for PS5 and PC sometime in 2022. No specific date yet. Furthermore, they showed a reveal trailer for Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Again, no real details. It's just a small reveal trailer. Shows Peter Parker and Miles Morales teaming up, fighting together, so it looks like they're both going to be in this game. Shows a glimpse of Venom right at the end. And the thing that I find is actually most interesting is that there's some narration over the entirety of the trailer that seems to hint that it's going to feature Kraven the Hunter as one of the main villains of the game, which I think is actually really cool. I love Kraven. He's a awesome villain from the Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery, if you will. So, yeah. It's interesting. I've not played, actually, the PS5 Spider-Man game because I don't have a PS5 or a PS4. So, yeah. it'll be nice to see if they eventually do bring that to PC, like they did with Horizon Zero Dawn and Days Gone and Death Stranding. So hopefully they will, but maybe not. Let's see. Sony also showed off another trailer from Crystal Dynamics. Sorry, not Crystal Dynamics. Insomniac. It's Marvel's Wolverine. It's a new project. It was just an announcement trailer. It's literally like 50 seconds. And it's just essentially just an image of a really beaten up bar, because obviously there's been a big fight. Some guy coming up on the single guy sitting at the bar. And just before the scene cuts out, it zooms in on the guy's hand, and then he pulls out the claws, obviously meaning Wolverine. So super excited about that, but really not a lot of details on it. Literally no gameplay showed, nothing, just that little scene. But it's a nice little nod, and I'll be interested to see how that turns out, particularly as, I mean, Insomniac did such a great job with the Marvel Spider-Man games. So yeah, I think it'll be good. On another note, new Battle Royale game is set within the Vampire Masquerade universe, called Vampire Masquerade Blood Hunt, has been released in early access for Steam and will be coming to PS5 by the end of the year. It looks like a three-man, I'm trying to think of the right one. It's a 3-man Battle Royale where you're playing as different character classes from the Vampire Masquerade series. So if you're a fan of the series, this is going to be awesome. If you're not familiar with it like I am, it's okay. It's okay. It's not bad. Second to last story. So the judge in the Epic versus Apple lawsuit has ruled sort of in favor of Apple. They ruled that Apple has not broken any antitrust laws and hasn't done anything illegal, but they did put an injunction on their Apple's rule on links to exterior sources for developers. So essentially, they can't stop developers from putting a link in their app that says go to another site for X, Y, or Z, whether that's trying to circumvent the payment system in Apple, or trying to send them away from the app and outside of Apple's store for any other reason. The judge says that Apple cannot stop them from doing that. So it'll be interesting to see how that's going to affect the market, particularly for the Apple iOS and potentially for other markets. But it's not happening yet. The injunction will go into effect on December 9th, and it could actually be pushed off depending on what Apple's lawyers decide to propose to the judge, or potentially put some sort of hold on that ruling. So yeah. And the last story of the night from the Green Squadron Games report is kind of an important one for me. Knights of the Old Republic is getting a remake. It's been finally confirmed. It was confirmed in the PlayStation Showcase 2021. They had just a very tiny little teaser trailer with Bastila Shan talking about the Sith, and then right at the end, and by the way, you're looking at this hooded figure the entire time, and he turns on the lightsaber, puts it up to his face, and you see Revan's mask. So very cool. I'm actually really excited for it. It'll be released for both PC and PS5, but other than that, we have no real details on it. But still, very cool that they have finally said that it's going to be out, going to be remaking it. So yeah, awesome. And that, everyone, is your Green Squadron game report for September 10th, 2021. Hey, thanks for checking out that clip from my podcast, Green Squadron TV. If you'd like to watch the full podcast, you can check it out at the link down below in the description. And if you'd like to watch it live, you can follow me at twitch.tv/green_leader87. I stream it there live every Friday night at 9 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Thanks for watching.